reporting about Chapter 8, Data Analytics and Evidence-Based Decision Making. Together with me is Ms. Hannah Cristani Gidula and Ms. Maria Danica Saporta. So I'll be reporting about the role of big data analysis and data-driven insights in governance and advanced methodologies for data collection, analysis, and interpretation. Next slide po. As an introduction, the evidence-based decision-making and data analytics are critical tools of government agencies and policymakers in the Philippines. These approaches guide policy formation and execution using empirical evidence and thorough research. Data analytics involves using advanced techniques to extract insights, patterns, and trends from the vast databases. Several of the urgent governance issues the Philippines faces, such disaster management, healthcare delivery, and evidence-based decision-making. Also, data analytics can be used by policymakers to make better judgments, distribute resources more effectively, and deal with intricate governance issues. Next slide po. Let's proceed to the role of the big data analytics and data-driven insights in governance. First, we will define what is a big data. Big data is the large amounts of both organized and unstructured data produced by social media, sensors, mobile devices, and government transactions. However, analytics is the application of sophisticated analytical methods to extract useful insights, patterns, and trends from these data. Ito po yung big data. Organized data are the process of structuring and arranging data in a systematic and logical way to make it easily accessible, understandable, and usable for analysis. Next slide. The roles of this big data analytics and data-driven insights in governance. First, the big data analytics, it makes possible to legislators and other government organizations to have better grasp of society trends, preferences, and actions, which makes more well-informed and focused policy actions possible. The demographic, society, economic, and public opinion allows policy members to spot new problems, evaluate the effectiveness of current laws, and customize solutions. The big data analytics improve the effectiveness and efficiency with which the Philippines delivers public service. In here, it can identify regions with high demands of public services by the use of data analytics and helps agencies to distribute better services. Big data analytics improve public safety and security in the Philippines. The law enforcement organizations can spot trends in criminal activity, foresee new dangers, and allocate resources more wisely, and stop crime and preserve public order. Lastly, the big data analytics can support economic growth and innovation in addition to better government results. Data analytics can assist the creation of entrepreneurial ecosystem in important areas such technologies, agriculture, and tourism. Thorough evidence-based policy formulation and data-driven decisions, this can help promote knowledge of the use of data and analytics in governance, giving government employees support and training to become proficient in data analysis. Next slide po. However, there are challenges in data analytics. First, lack of analytical skills, limited technical expertise and capacity in analyzing complex data sets. It can hinder effective data interpretation and decision-making, potentially leading to inaccurate insights and poor outcomes. Two, data infrastructure issues, insufficient tools and systems for collecting, storing, analyzing large data sets. These are the data quality problems, storage limitations, processing speed constraints, integration challenges, and stability concerns. Privacy and social concerns, ensuring data protection while maintaining accessibility for decision-making. These are the data breaches. Ito po yun. Then, unauthorized access, data integrity issues, privately violations, lack of transparency, compliance risk, and data sovereignty. Data quality problems, handling incomplete, outdated, or inaccurate data that can compromise decision making. These are the inaccurate data, incomplete data, duplicate data, inconsistent formatting, and outdated informations. And lastly, organization and cultural barriers is the resistance to change and the reliance on conventional methods over data-driven practices. These are the lack of data culture, resistance to change, and inadequate data literacy. Next slide po. Next slide po. Let's proceed to the importance of the advanced methodologies. These are crucial for driving innovations and ensuring research integrity. As the volume, variety, and velocity of data continue to grow due to digital transformation, the application of sophisticated tools and frameworks for managing and understanding such data becomes essential. And then by leveraging these methodologies, government agencies are better equipped to uncover trends, correlation, and anomalies, which in turn supports proactive planning, resources optimization, and real-time policy adjustments. Next slide po. Let's proceed to the advanced methodologies for data collection. First, we have the survey and questionnaires. Ito po yung mga collecting qualitative data through structured questions to gather statistical informations para po mas ma-improve po natin yung sistema po. And then, the interview and focus groups, gathering qualities, insights through open-ended discussions with individuals o groups. Dito po tayo nagbibigay ng mga insights natin. And then, the observations, recording real-world events of behavior to obtain empirical evidence, and the geospatial technology, utilizing geographic information systems. This GIS should i-present or elaborate ni Ms. Hannah po mamaya. Ito po kasi ginagamit natin si GIS para matrack po natin yung mga flooding areas, mga locations po na nagpa-flood. Example po nun. And then the Internet of Things or the IoT, deploying sensors and smart devices to gather real-time data on various environmental and social factors. Next slide po. The geospatial data collection techniques. Ito po yun it includes the use of satellite imagery, remote sensing, and geographic information systems. Ito nga po yung GIS are increasingly being used to gather spatial data for understanding geographic patterns and relationship. Just like in our department, gumagamit na po kami ng GIS to be elaborated later. And in the Philippines context, these tools are particularly valuable for environmental planning, infrastructure, and development. Disaster risk regions prone for flooding, landslide, and other natural hazards. Lalo pa ngayon, nagkakaroon po tayo ng mga changes ng environment natin. And with the help of this, na natatrack po natin at nagagawan po natin ng solution those dumadating na mga dilubyo sa lugar natin. Next slide po. The real-time data collection using Internet of Things devices. In the Philippines, IoT sensors are being employed to monitor air and water quality, measure traffic flows, assess agricultural productivity, and support early warning systems for weather-related events such as typhoons and floods. Ito pala yung ginagamit natin para natatrack natin halimbawa yung mga sa typhoon, sa mga dumadating ng mga flood sa lugar natin. Internet of Things sensors can track reservoir on water levels and give early warnings of possible flooding occurrences. Ang laki pala ng tulong ng Internet of Things kasi nga kapag may malaking bagyo, malaking storm sa lugar natin is nagagawa na natin ng immediate actions for that. And then next slide. The application in governance, we have the first disaster management. It is a predictive analytics for early warning systems, resources allocation, and post-disaster assessment para po ma-prevent na natin yung mga disasters. And then, the poverty reduction, nakakatulong siya to identify intervention areas by analyzing socioeconomic indicators. And then the healthcare delivery is to leveraging data analytics for disease tracking, resource optimization, and informed policy making. And lastly, the economic growth, enhancing productivity, streamlining processes, and making strategic data-driven investment decisions. Next slide po. Paano ba natin ma-overcome ang mga challenges na to? First, we have the capacity building, providing training programs to enhance analytical skills within government agencies. It helps overcome obstacles by equipping people and systems with the necessary capabilities to thrive in a dynamic environment. Kasi nga po, kapag may mga trainings naman po tayo at may mga programs na ibinibigay lalo na sa mga employees, it helps a lot po talaga. And then improving data infrastructure. It is investing in technologies that support data collection, storage, analysis, and visualization. Paano ba natin sila na-i-improve? At ano ba yung ways and means natin para na-update din natin yung mga data natin through the use of technologies? And enhancing data quality, implementing standards to ensure data accuracy, consistency, and reliability. Establishing clear policies, conducting assessments, standardizing data, monitoring quality, and implementing continuous improvements. And lastly, strengthening and data governance, developing policies and frameworks for responsible data use and management. This involves implementing policies, procedures, and technologies to ensure data quality, security, and accessibility while adhering to regulatory compliance. Next slide po. Let's proceed to the ethical and privacy concerns. It concerns about the center on the responsible and respectful handling of personal informations, focusing on issues like data collection usage and protection. In here, it establishes robust frameworks to ensure ethical use of data in governance and in implementing transparency mechanisms to promote accountability and trust. And lastly, balancing the need for data access with privacy rights and protections. Next slide po. Next. As a conclusion, the data analytics and evidence-based decision-making are vital tools for enhancing governance. And then effective implementation requires overcoming challenges and fostering a culture of data-driven decision-making. It is a continuous improvement and adaptation of data analytics practices are essential to address emerging challenges and harness new opportunities to more effective governance. And by embracing innovation, and building the necessary capacity and infrastructure, government institutions can harness the full power of data to address complex challenges, improve service delivery, and elevate the quality of life for all the Filipinos. Ayun po. Thank you po. The next topic will be discussed by Ms. Hannah Nigidula po.
So, good morning. I will iko-continue ko lang po yung presentation ni Mr. Sumili. Wait lang. So, case study on the application of data analytics in policy formulation and program evaluation. Hindi lumalabas? Patingin ng screen. So again, continue ko lang po yung sa topic po ni Mr. Suminig sa Chapter 8, the case study on the application of data analytics in policy formulation and program evaluation. So for overview, data analytics is becoming more and more important in the Philippines as the government looks to use data-driven insights to solve integrate governance issues and improve the efficacy of public policies and programs. So one case study for the Department of Health or DOH, application of data analytics to development of health policies and innovative targeted to enhance the health outcomes of mother and children. The DOH identifies priority area for innovation, more effectively targeted resources, and monitor the impact of its program on maternal and child health indicators. Another one is from the Department of Education, the DepEd. They use data analytics were used to assess the success of its K-12 program reform initiative by means of examination and information on teachers' attendance, student performance, and school infrastructures. Pero mukhang ngayon mawawala na yung K-12. Next is the DSWD, another case study, was able to be more precisely identify qualified beneficiaries, stop fraud and leaks, and guarantee that social aid reaches those who need it most by examining social economic data using household survey and beneficiary record. DSWD has been able to improve the efficacy and efficiency of its social welfare initiative, so enhancing the lot of unprivileged people in the Philippines. Next is the LGU, the MMDA, and the PNP. For the LGU, data analytics is being used by the local government unit to solve number of local government issues like environment, conservation, disaster risk management, and urban planning. Sa amin po sa LGU, like, nag-use din po kami ng GIS. So, ano ba yung GIS? GIS mapping refer to the process of visual representing geographic data on map using Geographic Information System software. Yun din po yung ginagamit yung sa MMDA para po sa naman ma-enhance yung traffic. Sa building official po, we use it para po malaman kung saan yung high-rise, saan yung residential, commercial, building. So ano ba yun? GIS mapping is a technology that allow for the integration of geographic data with other information such as population density, environment factors, or infrastructure details into a digital map. So, for PNP, the PNP has identified crime hotspots, forecast crime patterns, and more strategically allocated resources to prevent response to criminal activity by studying crime statistics, intelligence reports, and geographic data. So, for conclusion, through these case studies have been successful, the use of data analytics in policy development and program assess in the Philippines is not without its difficulties and restrictions. Effective data collecting and analysis and interpretation may also be harmed by technical and capacity limitation inside government organizations. Data analytics in governance also raises ethical and privacy issues, especially with relation to the gathering and using of personal data. Case study illustrates the use of data analytics in program assessment and policy development, show how data-driven strategy may improve governance in the Philippines. Thank you. So, ako rin po yung magpe-present for Chapter 9, yung first part po. Wait lang. Chapter 9, Theoretical Foundation of Ethical Leadership in Public Administration. So for introduction, in public administration, ethical leadership is based in the value of honesty, responsibility, fairness, and integrity. It includes the moral decision-making and action of leader in position power. It means following moral ideas and values, individual as well as encouraging others to do the same in their deeds and choices. Theoretical underpinning of ethical leadership in public administration include virtual ethics, deontology, consequentialism, and social contract theory. So objective, promote integrity and accountability, ensure fair and just government. Third is enhance public trust and confidence, encourage responsible decision-making, strengthen public service efficiency and effectiveness, foster a culture of ethical awareness and leadership, and protect public interest and welfare. So what is deontology? Deontology is theoretically viewpoint on ethical leadership that concentrate on the moral responsibility and obligation that leaders have to other people. So for example, the Code of Conduct and Ethical Standards for public officials, the RA 6713, mandate government workers to uphold integrity, professionalism, and accountability in their duties. Public officials are ethically required to perform their roles with honesty, even if doing may not always lead to most beneficial outcomes. Another example is from COA. They must report anomalies in public funds, even if put them in political pressure or threat. So second is the consequentialism. So what is consequentialism? It's a theoretical viewpoint in which assess the moral of act according to the results or verification. Holds that moral leaders give priority to acts that benefits to great number of people. So example is the war on drugs, yung kay Duterte noong 2016 to 2022. The Duterte administration pursued an aggressive anti-drug campaign, arguing that eliminating drug-related crimes would create a safer society, but this led to extrajudicial killing and human rights violation that sparked global criticism. So second is the COVID lockdown. So nag-implement ng strict quarantine sa buong Philippines that time. It saved life, but it also created a mass employment, hunger, and economic hardship. So yun yung consequence niya. So social contract theory. Social contract theory, the consent of the government gives ethical leaders their legitimacy and power, and they are obligated to govern in the best interest of the people they serve. So yung example is the Bill of Rights, tsaka yung election and democracy, where citizens consent to government by electing leaders to democracy process. And if the elected official fails to do their job, they can be removed to legal means like impeachment or election. Like yung nangyayari ngayon kay Sara Duterte. So, next is theory on transactional leadership. Ito parang ano to, leaders deal with their followers in transaction, providing incentive and rewards in return for performance and compliances. But ethical leadership goes beyond business dealing. It concentrates on establishing confidence, encouraging teamwork, and advancing the welfare of followers. Example is yung sa CSE at saka sa yung DBM operates under a transactional leader style where employees follow a standard operating procedure SOP and are evaluated based on key performance indicators. Like sa building official, may SOP din kami. Meron kaming timeline na kailangan sinusunod sa paglalabas ng mga building permits, may yung pag-time ng application. Transformational leadership theory, the ability of leaders to inspire vision, empower others, and promote innovative change, therefore having a transformative effect on their followers and organization. So yung example is yung mayor namin sa Quezon City, which is Mayor Joy Belmonte. Nag-introduce siya ng digitalized government, encourage transparency and innovation in public service. No, so sa term niya ngayon, doon halos nagsimula lahat ng digitalization namin, lalo na sa building official, pati sa business permit, lahat ano siya online. Then second is President Ramon Magsaysay, the champion of the masses. He transformed Philippine leadership by focusing on poor pro policies, agrarian reform, and government transparency. He inspired trust by promoting clean government. In conclusion, this theoretical underpinning of ethical leadership in public administration offer a wide range of viewpoints on the essence, value, and method of ethical leadership. This theoretical foundation are used by ethical leaders to direct their choices and activities into confidence and trust in their followers and bring about constructive challenges and influence their companies and societies. Thank you. So the report will be continued by Ms. Danica.
Good morning po. Continuation po ng topic, strategies for promoting integrity, accountability, and transparency in governance. Good governance means running a country in a fair, honest, and transparent way. It helps build public trust, improve services, and support development. One of the biggest threats to good governance is corruption, which leads to unfair treatment, wasted resources, and weak institutions. To prevent this, governments around the world are focusing on integrity, accountability, and transparency. These values make sure that leaders act honestly, follow the law, and keep citizens informed. By using clear rules, technology, and involving people in decisions, governments can become more open and trustworthy. What is integrity, accountability, and transparency? Integrity means that the leaders and officials should do what is right even no one is watching. Next is accountability. Means that those in power must explain their actions and face consequences if they do wrong. Transparency means being open and honest about decisions, spending, and policies. Working together globally to fight corruption. Why countries need to work together? Corruption often crosses borders, so countries must help each other fight it. Key agreements. OECD Anti-Bribery Convention stop companies from bribing foreign officials. UNCAC, a United Nations plan to fight corruption everywhere. Sharing what works. Sharing effective strategies and experiences fosters stronger anti-corruption initiatives worldwide. What makes good governance? Strong institutions. Reliable system makes sure rules are followed. Good and honest leaders. Leaders should set a good example for others. People getting involved. When citizens speak up, the government listens and improves. Next is using new technology. Technology help make things faster and more open. Following the law fairly. Everyone should be treated the same under the law. Next po is building trust in government. Stopping corruption builds trust. People trust the government more when it's clean and fair. Yun po, mas magtitiwala yung mga tao po kung pantay-pantay po yun. Pantay-pantay po and malinis po yung paggamit nila sa pera ng tao. Next po is encouraging ethical behavior. Teaching right from wrong helps create better leaders. Pero kadalasan din po, kahit mali na yung ginagawa is ginagawa pa rin po ng government. Hindi naman po lahat. Pero yung iba po, kahit alam na nilang mali na kailangan nilang itama, hindi pa rin po nila itatama kasi yun po yung gusto nila. Being open and honest. Clear communication helps people understand government decisions. Better services for the public. Fair and honest system improve daily life for everyone. Making and enforcing laws against corruption. Rules should clearly say what is right and wrong. Setting expectations. Government workers should know how to behave ethically. independent enforcers. Special agency should catch and punish corruption without pressure. Openness in government. Sharing government data. People can see how money is spent and what decisions are made. Letting people ask questions. Transparency let citizens hold leaders responsible. More trust from the public. When things are open, people believe in their leaders more. Yun po, kung pinapakitaan naman po ng mga leaders kung ano po yung mga nagagawa nila, yung pinapakita po talaga nila yung totoong nangyayari or ginagawa nila sa public. Hindi po yung puro kasinungalingan po yung mga sinasabi para lang di sila iwan ng mga taong gustong maniwala sa kanila. Katulad po ngayon na mag-e-election, yan po, yung di naman po sa nilalahat, pero malamang po yan yung ibang candidate, malamang sa umpisa lang po yan na giging open sa mga tao para paniwalaan sila, magbigay ng trust sa kanila. Pero in the end po, pag nanalo na sila, doon na po unti-unti na po nila yan na ipakita talaga kung ano sila or kung ano yung ginagawa nila. Institutional monitoring and oversight. Role of audit institution, ombudsman, and anti-corruption commissions. These bodies ensure laws are followed and misconduct is addressed. Ensuring accountability and addressing misconduct. Timely response to issue prevents systemic corruption and promotes justice. Citizen participation. Involvement in budgeting, consultations, and political processes. Citizen input ensures government decisions reflect public needs. Government responsible to public demands encourage inclusivity and trust in governance. Promoting ethical leadership, involving people in politics pressures leaders to maintain integrity. Next po is public procurement reforms, preventing fraud and collusion. Procurement transparency curbs misuse of public funds. Yan na po, maano na po dyan na yung public funds po is hindi na po nagagamit ng tama. Minsan po ang public funds ginagawa na po nilang ginagamit nila sa pansariling needs nila. Next is transparency and competitive procurement. Fair competition reduces favoritism and increases value for money. Promoting openness and accountability. Oversight ensures responsible spending and public benefit. Role of technology and innovation. E-procurement, government portals, open data. Digital tools reduce human error and increase procedural fairness. Improve administrative efficiency. Technology speeds up services and reduce corruption opportunities. Enhance transparency and integrity. Public accessible data keep officials accountable. Encouraging honest businesses. Private sector plays a role. Businesses are also need to act fairly and follow the rules. Training and laws teach companies about ethics and punish bad behavior. Strong company rules, good internal policies prevent corruption from within. Conclusion, fighting corruption is key to building trust in government and creating fair society. It requires strong laws, honest leadership, and teamwork between countries. Good governance also depends on citizen participation, transparency, and smart use of technology. This help prevent corruption and make public service better. Finally, the both government and private sector must act with integrity. When everyone works together, we can build accountable system that support justice and development for all. That's all po. Wait lang po. Next po is case studies on ethical dilemmas, corruption, and governance integrity. Introduction. Focus on ethical dilemmas. Focus on ethical dilemmas, corruption, and governance integrity. These issues are central to public trust and effective governance. Reveals the consequences of policy failure and corruption. Each case exposes how unethical behavior under public service. Case study offer lesson for reform and transparency. Real-world examples help improve law institution and practices. PDAF scam. PDAF means a Priority Development Assistance Fund. Misuse of public funds through fake NGOs. Lawmakers funneled money into ghost project for personal gain. Yan na po yung mapasok po dyan yung um, yung public funds po na ginagamit lang nila para pang sarili nila. Showed exploitation of government programs. The scandal reflected deep flows in fund allocation and monitoring. Highlighted urgent need for transparency and accountability. Reforms were needed to prevent future misuse of public money. Public funds are highly vulnerable to abuse when there is lack of transparency and weak accountability. Stronger anti-corruption mechanism and tighter fund monitoring are urgently needed. Next po is Maguindanao Massacre. 58 people, including journalists, were killed in election-related violence. This tragedy exposed the brutal power of political dynasties. Revealed extreme political corruption and abuse of power. Officials used armed groups and intimidation to retain power. Stressed the rule of law and protection of democratic rights. It showed the importance of justice, media freedom, and accountability. Political violence and impunity thrived in the absence of legal accountability. Upholding the rule of law and protecting civil liberties are essential to democracy and justice. Disbursement Acceleration Program, intended to boost economic growth through faster government spending. It directed savings from slow-moving projects to urgent ones, raised legal and accountability issues. The Supreme Court ruled by key parts of the program unconstitutional. Reinforced need for budget transparency showed that even well-intentioned in reform must follow legal processes. Even well-meaning economic initiative must adhere to legal and constitutional standard. Government reform must balance efficiency with legality and transparency. Tanim Bala Scheme. Extortion scheme by airport security staff planting bullets in luggage. Victims were forced to pay bribes to avoid false charges. Exposed corruption in law enforcement and airport security. Showed the dangers of unchecked authority in public institutions. Undermine public trust and safety in travel. Called for stronger oversight and reforms in airport operations. Corruption in law enforcement erodes public trust. Urgent reforms and accountability system are needed to restore credibility in public institutions. Next is ozone disco fire. 162 deaths due to negligence in fire safety. Lack of exit alarms and inspection allowed the disaster. Revealed failure in building regulation and enforcement. Show the real-life dangers of poor governance in public safety. Stress need for accountability and proactive inspections. Highlighted the importance of regulatory reform and safety culture. Weak enforcement of safety regulation can lead to fatal consequences. Regulatory integrity and regular inspection and accountability can help prevent public tragedies. Next, Safeguard Armor Project. Allegation of corruption in police bulletproof vest procurement. Equipment was substandard and bid processes were manipulated. Reflected poor monitoring in defense procurement, showed inefficiencies in ensuring quality and transparency. Stressed importance of integrity in national security contracts. Ensuring equipment quality can save lives and protect public funds. Procurement corruption undermines security and public safety. Integrity in bidding and monitoring system is essential for quality service and equipment delivery. Next is PhilHealth corruption. Widespread fraud in the national health insurance system involved fake claims, overpricing, and collusion with hospitals. Institutional corruption treated healthcare delivery, reduced public trust, and weak essential services. Highlighted urgent reforms for transparency and oversight, called for stricter controls and better management of funds. Healthcare services suffer when institutions are riddled with corruption. Urgent reforms and transparency are necessary to ensure efficient public health delivery. Next is Mama Sapa No Clash. 44 police officers killed in a terrorism operation. Miscommunication and lack of coordination lead to that tragedy. Exposed flaws in security governance and chain of command. Highlighted the need for joint planning and oversight. Emphasized transparency and accountability and military operation ensured civilian control and rule of law in armed responses. Poor coordination and oversight in security operation can lead to loss of lives. Military and police operation must be transparent, accountable, and well managed under civilian oversight. Next po is Laguna Lake Project. Environmental restoration project by corruption claims. Funding and implementation were questioned by stakeholders, reflected poor planning and administrative inefficiency. Delays and wastage affected ecological and social goals. Highlighted tension between development and sustainability. Showed need for balance in ecological projects and governance. Balancing development with environmental sustainability requires sound governance. Open and responsible decision-making is essential for successful ecological projects. MRT maintenance anomaly. Poor maintenance lead to unsafe and unreliable train services. Contract flows cause repeated failures and passenger complaints. Revealed gaps in public procurement and contract monitoring. Showed how weak system impact public transport efficiency. Stress need for safe, efficient, and transparent operations. Public utilities require strict oversight to serve the public well. Weak procurement system and poor maintenance oversight compromise public safety. Transparent contracts and proper supervision are crucial for infrastructure projects. Boracay closure controversy. Overdevelopment and environmental violations lead to closure. Businesses failed to follow waste management and zoning rules. Reveal lack of environmental governance and regulation. Tourism must prioritize over sustainability until damage was severe. Closure pushed reforms for responsible tourism. Advocated sustainable development and regulatory enforcement. Responsible development and lax regulation harm the environment and tourism. Sustainable development and good governance must be prioritized. West Philippine Sea dispute. Territorial dispute with China over maritime zones. Challenge national sovereignty and maritime law enforcement. Stress need for legal, diplomatic, and multilateral approaches. Asserted sovereignty through peaceful and lawful means. Emphasize rule-based international cooperation. Highlighted importance of legal norms in foreign policy. Territorial and maritime disputes require diplomatic, lawful, and multilateral solutions. National sovereignty must be asserted with respect to international law and cooperation. Conclusion. Case study must highlight key governance challenges, real-world issues in policy, law enforcement, and service delivery. Reinforce the importance of accountability and integrity. Trust in government depends on ethical and effective governance. Offer lessons for reform, transparency, and public involvement. Public participation, monitoring, and reforms are essential for change. That's all po. Thank you po.
Okay, thank you so much, presenter, no? Again, as our presenter mentioned, ano po, data analytics actually is the process of examining raw information like numbers, facts, and trends. So, to find, wait for a while. Tawag lang. Okay, so again, as I mentioned earlier, no, uh, data analytics is the process of examining raw information like numbers, facts, and trends, no, to find patterns or useful insights. So because it helps us understand what's really happening instead of guessing or relying only on opinions, no. Data analytics is used in many fields, no, including the business, the health, education, and of course the government, no. So evidence-based decision making means making choices based on solid facts, no, and reliable data instead of just going with gut feelings, politics, or guesswork. No, it ensures that actions and policies are effective, targeted, and measurable. And this approach is especially helpful to public officials, business owners, and the school administrator. Let's say, for example, no, a mayor reviews crime data showing frequent theft in one neighborhood. So based on that evidence, she or he install more street lights and increases patrols in the area, which help reduce incidents. Now, so why are these two concepts connected? Data analytics provides the evidence, and evidence-based decision making is the action taken based on that evidence. Together, they help leaders make a smarter, more informed decision. And this connection improves the quality of services, reduces waste, and helps solve problems more effectively. Let's say, for example, no, sa school setting, no, a school uses student performance data to identify struggling students. So teachers then design a specific lesson or tutoring sessions to help those students improve, leading to better overall outcomes. What are the challenges for this? Now, one big challenge is getting accurate, no, and complete data. Some places may not have the right tools, staff, or system to collect and analyze data properly. So there's also the risk of misinterpreting the data or using outdated or biased information, which can lead to poor decision. Let's say, for example, if a health office uses old survey result to plan a vaccination drive, they might miss areas where more people now live, no? Causing supply shortage or low turnover. Actually, there are many tools and methods used in data analytics such as a spreadsheet, pwedeng graphs, pwedeng charts, pwedeng software katulad ng Microsoft Excel, pwedeng Google Analytics, or some advanced systems like Python or R for bigger data sets. So for decision makings, our leaders often use a dashboard, policy briefs, and performance reports. So what's important is using the right tool for the right job and involving expert when needed. Okay, so an example, of course, a business owner uses a dashboard that shows real-time sales, allowing to see which branches are doing well and which need more support or promotion. I think that's it for this topic. Thank you to our presenter.